The second time we did it, the Technicolor guy actually said, "Blow, don't suck."
I don't even know really where to start. I have like, holy fuck. The way this episode starts, like, what the fuck? You're running around the house and nothing but your like boxer briefs and Leo's XXL denim shirt.
That's as naked as they could get me in those days. Put it that way.
I was shocked.
You were still shocked.
I'm still shocked. I don't even... I had to rewind it, just make sure that I was seeing what I was seeing. Like, I'm
you
like, what
weren't
is she
seeing
wearing?
much. You weren't seeing much.
Front bra strap, clasp thing.
You know, you can tell in this episode that like we as the girls like are already getting on each other's nerves because everybody's so physical with the other one in this episode. Like everybody's hitting, pushing, pulling. I was like, Jesus, it was happening already.
Wow.
So aggressive.
Also, was this the first episode that we saw you without bangs? You started to...
Yes.
This is what I caught. I was like,
Wasn't
all right,
that
the
weird?
end of the bangs.
It was the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
Yeah, I got told to put them back after this. I got a very special phone call from Aaron Spelling that was literally like the bat phone was calling. Like somebody called to tell me he would be calling before he called. And I was like, cool. So I'm definitely getting fired. And what happened was he was like, Holly, yes, sir. Your bangs. We got to talk about your hair. Your bangs. It's who Piper is. The bangs are Piper. And I was like, they are? Because really, they're just in my eyes, is what they are. Me. And yeah, I was like formally asked in a very direct way to go back to the way we were.
Okay.
It was a big deal.
Fantastic. So to catch people up on where we're at, this is season 1, episode 10, Wicca Envy, directed by Mel Damsky, which aired in January of 1999. We're in the 1999s now, kids.
Mel Damsky, he's one of my favorite directors of all time. Like basically I should just bring him to every TV show I do because he did like a ton of Picket Fences episodes too.
Oh, wow.
And then he did like 2 a year for Charmed. So basically like I just don't do a TV show without him.
Yeah, Mel's rad. I remember I got to experience Mel.
Yeah,
I think once or twice.
Spin City, he did.
Great dude. Great guy.
Yeah.
Wait, just before we dive into your XXL denim shirt.
Yeah.
So the episode description: Prue's devious boss and secret warlock, Rex, frames Prue for stealing a priceless tiara and puts her in jail. The sisters plot a jailbreak to catch the sly Rex in action.
So very sly.
So very sly. By the way, one of my notes was, Rex, you dog. Did he and Phoebe bone? Like, were they... Because Rex was hooking up with, like, he clearly was boning Hannah.
Yeah.
And then, I know, like, did Phoebe and Rex bone as well?
It was implied.
Yeah.
Was it implied or inferred? I don't know.
Implied.
It was
It was left up to suggestion in one's imagination.
Rex,
okay, fine,
dog.
fine.
Yeah.
Unlike our storyline.
Guys, there was no denying it. You had sex a lot.
Done the deed.
And apparently you had it more than once. And we, the audience, and me as your son, needed to know this over and over again.
No.
Because there's nothing anyone likes more than hearing their parents either have sex or walk in on your parents having sex or think about your parents having sex.
Yeah. Well, you can tell how comfortable Piper and I were discussing that as we spoke very, very, very quickly about it.
Gross.
Gross. Ew.
It's, one of the classic all-time lines and I think scenes, though, is like, so when exactly did you freeze it? Like,
Well,
you like that?
What part of when you were
when you did the
when
thing?
Exactly?
Yeah, you could tell they were definitely having fun with you with that too.
Oh, they were.
And
they
your
were.
reaction was genuine because it was But you guys are so good looking, and so fun. It was, besides once I got over the gross of it all,
right.
I was like, oh God, this is great. Young love.
Yeah, I have to say, BK, I don't think Beth was upset about that other kiss. I think it was this one.
I think you're right.
I think I'm right too.
Because I went back for thirds.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot. You guys were definitely like, what was it? Handcuffs were off? No. Straps. What's the term? Something. All the things were off. Like everything was ready to go.
No holds barred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cuffs were off. What's the fucking term?
I don't know.
But I had one question, a power question for you, because this was something that I don't know if it's ever established or... Did you guys ever formally establish how long your power lasts?
No. It's all relative.
So it kind of plays however...
I think
whatever the scene calls for.
The duration is equal to the enthusiasm behind the moment.
So when you guys were boning and you froze him, how long did that last for?
As long as it needed to.
Interesting.
No, I don't think it was. See, and now somebody says that this was a personal gain moment. I just think it was a misfire. There was no like forethought. So therefore, so therefore, there can be no personal gain. It was just a misfire. See, I just did it again.
Look at Brian's face right now.
Yeah.
So
I'm blushing for Leo.
Poor Leo. Leo looked just fine to me.
Yeah, Leo was fine.
Leo was
super fine.
Super comfortable in the house.
Yeah.
Just coming in, coming out, leaving stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, they finally addressed it. It's like, I think Phoebe said it, like, we've been trusting this guy this whole time. Like, who, what?
Oh, yeah. A little bit
10
of
episodes in, like, oh, hey, should we be questioning Leo?
Yeah. I mean, he basically lives there now. Should we be questioning?
His name was Dale.
It was Dale.
Why Dale/Leo is up in the attic, just like hanging out. By the way, moving stuff with your hands. When did that happen? And when did it ever happen again?
So that was a fun reveal. Like I was reliving it as if this would be like the first time. Like, oh God, remember Melrose Place back in the day when the girl came back from, she had like, I think it was Rob Estes, his wife. And then he was now sleeping with Heather Locklear. And she showed back up and then she looked normal. But then at the end of the episode, she goes in and like takes off her wig and she has this massive scar. And it was like this, do you guys remember this? Melrose Place?
Sure.
Link?
But I might have missed that episode.
But the reveal, I was really into it. I was like, oh shit. This is the moment where we get to see Dale and his powers. And I was like, I was here for it. I was really into it because I was waiting for that. Like, I didn't know if you were aware, BK, like at what point in the process of you playing Leo did they actually tell you, like, by the way, you're actually...
that episode and this day, I remember this day I was on this, I think all the girls were there, but I was nervous because I had powers and
they didn't tell you the day before or anything?
No, and I think Shannon picked up on it and just said, what's up, dude? And I was like, man, I got powers. I don't know about this. And she goes, no, don't worry, you're a good guy.
And
I was like, really? She goes, yeah.
Okay, so Shannon knew. Holly, did you know BK was going to...
Through that episode, maybe she had the same question and asked the writers herself, and she would have probably scoured the script at that point. Who knows? But
when you got the script,
kind of put me at ease. Huh?
When you got the script, it wasn't in there?
No, it was in there. Yeah. But you
but I don't think the episode
just a few days early, and I'm not calling anybody at home.
Yeah.
But, hey, what's up?
Like the episode before, I don't think we had any idea that this was going to develop. So, lots of things developed.
Well, I was here for it. I liked it. So what did they tell you? Anything pre-episode? Anything other than Shannon saying you were a good guy?
Yeah. Well, did we know you were a good guy at that point? I don't know.
I don't know that anybody really knew, but I remember Shannon saying, don't worry, you're a good guy. I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't know quite what to believe. But
what did you like once you did it? What did you think? Like, was it pretty cool?
Well, when you break down that, even the last line that I have in the episode of, I came here and I fixed everything I needed to fix.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Right.
Yeah, and that's Piper is just lovely and unquestioning.
I'll be back. Yeah.
She's just like, cool. All right. All righty then. See you later.
Yeah. I mean, but the Leo episode and the reveal was, I think, for me, from a story, like I know they had been building the Rex Hannah story for a while, but this was much cooler for me.
All right.
As a first time member, viewer, audience, watcher. Like the Rex thing is like, and we'll get to that. But for me, I thought this was like I was much more engaged, and I know that will probably feel because you guys are ultimately become my parents, and so I'm watching it through like rose-colored lenses, tinted lenses. Man, I got to get my things right today.
Yes, please.
But for real, I was definitely into this idea of you two and like this reveal and like who is Leo and the fact that he'll be back and your dynamic. I thought that was much more engaging and interesting for me as an audience member.
It was very interesting for Brian's wife too.
We're still on that?
Just home wrecking everywhere.
It will never die.
Just home wrecking everywhere. This is the one that did it.
That
for sure.
moment.
But you shouldn't have looked like you enjoyed it so much then. Like you
I was
went
like,
in for another
it's for the
fucking kiss at
TV.
the
It's
end.
for the TV.
Like I'm so confused.
Of the people, for the people.
More kissing,
for
gross,
the TV.
and then you bounce. Gross. Those are my notes.
Really?
Yes. A lot of kissing. You kept going for it.
What do you expect?
I mean, I'd do the same, but
well then
I wasn't married.
Okay.
Also, I wasn't even alive yet.
Not at all.
It's like a child looking back at the parents', wedding album. You're going to see some things you didn't want to see.
Or like walking in on your parents boning.
Right.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah.
Well, anything jump out at you in this episode specifically?
I didn't mind this episode. I somewhat enjoyed it, or else I was just really tired. I don't know. But I did kind of find myself enjoying it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, me too. And I like, Rex's, his character kind of came to a culmination of everything. And, seeing him in that power position and sexy and all of it. It was, I would have liked to see more of that. I guess you could have extended that. I don't know if this is the last episode for Rex.
Yeah.
He dies here.
But I would have liked to see more of that astral projection evil, perhaps in the last few episodes, because it was fun.
Yeah, it was cool. It was
and you got to live. So there you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Rex died so you could live, Leo.
I came back and fixed what I need to fix.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, apparently you're not just a handyman.
No, he's very handy.
He's very handy.
Hey, you're very freezy.
You're very freezy.
Wait, handy? Was that some sort of sexual innuendo?
Not at all.
Gross.
Not
Gross,
there,
guys.
Not at all.
Come on.
Grow up.
Never. This is never gonna happen.
Andy was very pissed. I'm still confused with that relationship with Prue a little bit, and
I'm ready for Andy to
go
now. Like this episode killed Andy for me. He's on my hit list now.
In what sense?
Because he was
what about
just
Andy's
so wrong.
behavior?
Everything. He's just on the wrong side of the law. Sorry.
Well, in the episode prior, he's all like uptight and like sensitive about like the owl feather stealing, and then and then he gets thwarted by a airbag. I digress. You guys have already heard that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he just seems to be, he's more angry now than anything else.
Angry.
He's angry.
He's
angry.
He is just a disgruntled ex. And this is why we need to kill him now.
Oh, we're killing him now?
We're killing him. We're planning on it.
Really?
This is where it starts.
Spoiler alert.
The seeds of doubt.
Jesus.
Seeds of doubt has been sown. Out of here.
I thought he was on the show all eight seasons.
No.
I just never had scenes with him.
No.
It's interesting, though, that he is the cop that shows up at everything.
Well, it's a small town. San Francisco, I've heard, is a small town.
His jurisdiction really covers every type of crime.
It's insy-pincy.
Yeah.
Ding, ding.
I mean, there was a murder. I mean, Jaime?
Poor Jaime.
Jaime got
but I think that's the time, too.
Dirty.
I don't think as an audience, we necessarily knew the hierarchy of how police work, right? Different detective for crime, detective for murder, detective for gangs,
You mean
I think TV in the last 20 years kind of taught us that with reality TV. But
I mean, Brad Kern did not know this.
It's just that, I mean, Andy shows up at everything.
Hey, there's been a burglary at the Museum of Natural History. Don't worry about it. I got my best man on it.
He's kind of a little bit like the Batman.
I got my best man on it.
Right? Yeah. He's like, we're going.
Bringing Andrew to go.
Yeah. My cat is missing. Andy's on it.
And CSI.
It begged me to think that he could have been a warlock.
But also, true, he was always showing up. But isn't Daryl his superior?
No, they're partners.
Okay.
Partners. Partner.
HMC, anything else?
Ugh.
No? But you enjoyed this episode. What did you like about it?
I enjoyed the banter with the girls, even though it was getting to a level of violence. There was a lot of physical violence in this episode. But you know what? Speaking of physical violence, I don't think we really needed to kill Jaime. Like, Kennedy had just had
a concussion?
Been knocked out. Like, there was no need for so much
I didn't
death.
like that.
I didn't like that either. Also, that was one hell of a blow to kill someone like that. People get knocked.
She's demonic, so she's got superhuman little person
strength. Well, she's a
powers.
Panther or a Puma?
Jaguar?
Was that a jaguar?
Same animal.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
A panther, a puma, and a jaguar are all the same animal?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a jaguar.
Is that true?
Yeah. Jaguar, Puma.
They can all kill you.
Hey, did they bring a real puma on set?
They did.
No
we
way.
were not allowed to be there, which is no fun. But no.
You didn't. You guys never got to meet the puma?
No, it was not allowed. No, other side.
Wow.
No.
Yeah, what's really funny about this episode is this is when I can distinctly remember having a B unit because we were either reshooting stuff we did wrong from previous episodes or we had a stunt unit. And I noticed, and no need to go back and watch it again, but immediately I noticed in this episode we have this weird eye light going. And I know why. I remember why. We got a note from the network that the girls look tired. So they literally put this, I'm not kidding you, sometimes there's this spotlight on me where literally it looks like we're cyborgs. If you go back and look at it, it's right here, suddenly right here, we're brighter than the rest of our face because they're trying to hide the dark circles and the bags under our eyes. Because we were doing 18-hour days and 3 different units at that point. I think we had already got picked up for the season. And this was kind of supposed to be Leo walking out was the end of our first 13. And everything got switched around. And there's literally an eye light on all of us.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
And many times it will be more glaringly obvious than other times. And I just went...
Do you remember actually being physically that tired at this point in the season?
Yeah. I mean, at
because we're not even halfway yet.
We did a 18-hour Friday, and then they forced my call on a Saturday because
were you guys doing 6-day work weeks at the beginning?
No, it was an emergency Saturday.
Okay. Do you remember what you were shooting? Was it for this episode specifically?
No, I think it was actually before this, but we were trying to do, I think they were trying to do 7-day shoots. And I was like, you people are crazy. because we needed to do 8-day episodes.
You mean 7-day episodes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was nutty. Like, I'm sure it, speaking of Melrose Place, they probably did it that way, but they really thought we could squeeze it into 7 days, and it was just not happening at that point.
They pulled that on Army Wise for us. We were 7-day eps.
Did they? Yeah.
It's insane.
It's
60 some odd pages in 7 days. It's just with multiple company moves.
Yeah.
So for people that don't understand what that means, is a normal television episode is going to run about 42 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a page an hour just to film. Average is what they look at. So, you need time to do things like that. So,
especially if you have
that much of they can.
People.
Yeah, it's terrible for the crew. People don't get to sleep. It's long hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it can be dangerous. Driving home like that tired is not advisable.
No.
Yeah,
and
actually, one of my co-stars on that show had I think it was like the tail of an 18-hour day, and there was a force call, and the next morning she was driving to work, fell asleep at the wheel, and flipped the car.
She
was totally fine. Everything was fine, but it was just like, when I think productions kind of get an idea in their head of how quickly things should move, and that the train doesn't stop. It's just like, just keep moving forward, which can be really dangerous. And, they have to bring in special lights for your eyes.
Mm-hmm. To make you look alive.
Hey, BK, just so you know, you were 100% correct. Pumas are known by many names: panther, jaguar, and cougar among them.
Cougar's my favorite.
Congrats.
Cougar. And they different colors. I think the black is just it's been called by different names depending where you are regionally.
All right,
dude. What, are you a science nerd?
No, yeah, I've been in a jungle, and knowing there's cats in there, and it's like, all right, what am I dealing with? So I went to the Google before long ago, and even in Orange County, the mountain lions even related, and they're scary.
They are scary, and they're hungry.
Big cats.
You don't want to get taken out by a cat. That's just all things to eat you. Like, please, not a cat.
I don't think being eaten by an animal in general.
Is your choice?
Is really kind of the way to go. What a great segue, guys.
I try to avoid that in my life.
Rex Buckland got it in the jugular.
Oh.
But somehow there was no blood.
I think at that point we were getting in trouble for how much violence we were portraying. So
I mean, you killed John. You gunned him down in the streets, but you can't maim Rex Buckland with a Puma? We
didn't just gun him down. We also set him on fire.
Yeah, you did that.
Highly unnecessary.
But that episode hits. It's universal. Everyone loves it.
It's still number one.
I think Rex, if we had seen like a mauling more, and maybe his face was like mauled off or something.
Maybe a little bit of a struggle.
Just something. Him screaming.
Right.
Like
writhing in pain.
Him dying would have landed harder for me.
Luckily for you, we have Rex here today to explain his choices to you.
Oh, wow. The great Neil Roberts, ladies and gentlemen. Neil.
On the show today.
Oh, he's not here.
The cat. The cat situation.
Should we call Neil Big Cat?
No, because that's how he died.
Do you remember how they got the cat to hiss?
I wasn't there.
Oh.
Maybe he was.
I just noticed how sunburned I am.
You are. Good to know.
Wear sunscreen.
It's a pretty good cat, right?
Yeah.
Is that your cat?
Yeah, it's a cat. I had a cat thing. I did a cat movie.
What was your cat movie?
And the wheels are coming off.
Have they come off? Well, okay. I'm going to bring them back on.
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
And Leo fixes the Book of Shadows. Like, he's just got all sorts of tricks up his sleeve. Like, this is some bullshit.
It was, and that's what I was saying. It was pretty scary of me just walking into that attic, moving things, dealing with the book. It was like, shit, this guy, I'm watching the show and been paying attention. It's like, I'm dead the next episode. There's no way I'm not dying.
But do you ever move things again? You don't, right?
I mean, he's an all-powerful being, right?
No, that's one thing that I don't think they've ever... I guess you alluded to it like when I fix stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of cheating. And I think they allude to that with the window and maybe the clock. And
wow, just all powerful this episode. Super weird.
I know.
Somebody broke the rules, I think.
Yeah.
They're in the writer room like, I don't know.
I don't care. Just do it this way.
You got called mouth again. That was pretty funny. That made me laugh out loud. Was that like an Alyssa like improv?
No, that was not. There was some improv.
I was about to say that was my next question. What was, because it's so obvious that the dynamic and interaction, not only between the girls, but between you and Dale is really like, it's charming, no pun intended. It's refreshing. It's fun. And there's like, even when you guys, like just every time you guys are together, the dynamic it's amazing. It's super fun. And I think that's one of the big allures of the show. How much were you allowed to play at that point or this point?
We were just doing it because, well, I had Mel Damsky, who I trust implicitly, and he kind of lets me do my thing. And so, like, I literally, like, dusting Phoebe was not obviously in the script.
That was great. Great choice.
Thank you. And all that kind of, like, little banters. And there was a few other sentences where I was like, oh, yeah. So essentially, the wheels were coming off at this point because, there was just so much to do that they're not going to make us redo a whole scene just because we said something different at this point. There was just too much to do.
Right. And did you, like, when you started to, because you were a big daily watcher and you saw that it worked and then you saw that they kept it in, was that something that kind of felt empowering at this point?
And it just made it more fun, to get through the day as well.
Of course.
So that was.
Were you guys ever? And did you ever play that game where you're trying to make the other person break?
Yes, and Shannon was the toughest to break.
She really?
Break. Yeah.
The consummate professional.
Yeah, it's super easy to make me break. And if I go and start going, there's just no getting me back into fighting form.
BK, were you easy to break? Or were you pretty dead serious?
No, but definitely with Holly over the years, we had a few times that we just don't look at me.
Don't you dare look at me. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me.
Actually, you could just stand over there, do your lines from over there. I'll look at this piece of tape. Thank you.
Don't look at me.
Cute. Yeah. That's real cute, you two.
Thanks.
Real cute.
Thanks.
That's why you go back for thirds.
Whoa. We're back on that.
I'm just explaining myself.
Oh my God.
This is the home wrecking episode, not
for sure. It was like, it can't be any of the other kisses, which were closed mouthed and pretty quick. This was some real deep penetration of tongues.
No, it wasn't. No,
and other things.
It was other. There was
It was juicy.
It was juicy. Look at her face. Folks, that's guilt. No, this is what guilt looks like. Everyone take a look. Top left corner, bottom right corner.
Listen, Beth is very happily remarried. She's,
that's right.
It all worked out for the best.
It's all worked out for best.
Everyone.
Are we talking about in real life, IRL?
Yes.
Oh.
Anyway, so who's our guest today?
Rex Buckland, aka Neil Roberts. Do you guys have good questions for him?
I'm sure you do.
Well, I want to know his Puma choices. I definitely have.
It's just terrible.
Hey man, can I call you Big Cat?
No, she was the big cat.
Can I ask him that?
No, Hannah was the big cat.
Why not?
Because
that's a great nickname.
Can't make fun of people's demise.
Well, I think if you can't do that, what can you do?
Think of another nickname.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, originally I was on him for his transatlantic accent, and it turns out he's actually British. So joke's on me.
Joke is on you.
I think. Oh, who is it? We saw Melinda Warren, right?
Yeah, we did see Melinda. That was last ep.
Oh, that was last.
Yeah.
We jumped.
Listen, we're jumping.
Did we miss an episode?
Well, no, we're going back because we didn't.
It's like when you're from the future and you go back, but you're from the past and you go to the future. So just don't worry about it.
Well, guys, I'm excited. It's been a long time. When I was on the show, and I had the pleasure of having a few lunches and hanging out near the trailers with Neil, our next guest, Neil Roberts. Welcome.
Well,
Hi,
hello.
Neil.
How are you all?
Welcome.
Hey, Neil, how are you?
It's really good to see you. Really good.
Well, thank you so much for being here and joining us today.
It is a pleasure, Drew. We haven't actually met, have we?
I know. I was a figment of my parents' imagination at this point.
I'm afraid I had to read about you being a love child of these two. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm grateful that you're here, and welcome to the show.
Is that enough of that?
Yeah.
He's having moments today because he had to watch this episode and see his parents kiss or allude to a love story.
Allude? That was more than alluding. You guys were. We've already unpacked all of it.
It was a good kiss.
It was a home-wrecking kiss.
Home-wrecking kiss.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
Well, again, thank you so much for being here.
Am I interrupting your kissing conversation, do you think?
No, we're all done with it. It is so done and over with. Done.
It was one, I was quite impressed by that myself when I was watching it, because I haven't seen it for 20 years.
Whoa. Has it been that long?
I was, if not longer.
Was
it 98 or 99?
Yeah.
99? Nope, 98 still.
No, this was 99. This episode was 99.
But it aired in 99.
Yeah, I think we filmed it 98.
Yeah.
In the
yeah, I
fall.
believe so. Exactly.
Yes.
Well, Neil, quick question for you, amongst many, but when you first got cast as Rex, was this something that you knew as from a storyline standpoint this was going to unfold? Like, did the writers or producers tell you, like, hey, you're ultimately going to be a bad warlock?
I'm not sure if I should say too much, but you must stop me because sometimes I say completely inappropriate things.
No, that's what we want.
That's what we do.
So if I say inappropriate things, I apologize now.
No.
But no, in fairness, every episode I had a different power. Whenever I read the script, it was a big surprise to me, let alone, I wasn't told anything. And so I knew that you weren't sure if I was a goodie or baddie during it. And then obviously, I'm British, so I'm always obviously the baddie of it, really, because we always are in American shows.
Mm-hmm.
But no, when we did the casting, actually, Hannah was supposed to be British and my character was American. And I think in the first episode, you had a British actor in it playing something. I can't remember what. And so they may not have wanted another British guy so soon. But I had recently done Beverly Hills 90210.
Great show.
And, same producers. And so I think that helped me get the job in the end, and they decided to do it British. But yes, I was surprised by the powers we had. What was at the end? Astral projection.
Yeah. It kind of came out of nowhere.
Well,
What
even
did you
the
think?
episode before when Hannah lit the end of my cigar, it was episode 9.
Yeah.
That was an interesting power. I couldn't quite work out what use it is.
Fire
particularly.
starter.
It's just a flex. She's just flexing that she can do things like that.
Yeah. She was blowing on the end of my cigar and it started to turn red.
Mm-hmm.
So in
how
the
did
whole arc of your character, they never said, oh, you might be the devil or the main source, or there was no kind of walking you through it of like, we want you to be one way or the other?
No.
Wow.
I'm not
Okay.
I'm sorry. You wanted a longer
No,
answer.
we want the honesty. We want the real.
You know what?
That's what we're here for. We want the real.
There were
Wait.
a couple of things. One is when I again, I'm not sure if I should say this. One of the producers came up to me on the last day's filming and said, we weren't quite sure what we're going to do with your character, Neil. We're sorry that you're dying off, but you are a warlock, so you can come back at any point.
That is true.
Yeah, I didn't, but I could have done.
I didn't, but I could have.
Right.
So you only knew episode to episode if you were staying or going.
I think I was booked for a few episodes at a time.
Right.
So I was new, but initially I think it was just a couple of episodes, and then they kept increasing it. And you can see the longevity, I believe, of your character by looking at the solidness of the set. So my office in Charmed, I went around and sort of moved some of the walls and the doors, and they were really solid. So I thought, I'm going to be here for a little while, a couple of months. Whereas I did Sliders a few years before, and I had a really wobbly set, which wasn't their fault. As in, I was only in the one episode, so it wasn't important. So that's how I learn if I'm going to be there or not. And the first day, I turn up and wobble the set and see if my office is looks like it's going to be standing for a while.
That's actually amazing.
That's a great idea.
It's a good barometer.
They also, you know what? Watching the episode, it brought back so many memories I could picture. Is this, 24 years ago? I could picture every scene being filmed. And I was quite staggered by that. And where I was around that studio, outside or inside or whatever, and recalling some of those actions and the sort of things that one created. And the one thing I really loved about the show was I felt as if I could bring lots of my own playfulness and various things to it. So in this episode, I think I say darling a couple of times, which I added. I think it was when, it might have been you, Holly. Someone said, go to hell. And I said, oh, I'd love to, darling. I added the darling to it. And I think there was another one when I said Hannah Kitten or something, and I did a purr. In fairness, it sounded more like a pigeon, but I did do a noise. So I did find that there was a lot of fun around that they allowed you to play, which I rather enjoyed.
Yes. And that was just by nature of just getting through the day and trying to make the material better. We just wanted everybody to be very comfortable. But
you say better, but I was watching the thing today, and I thought what made it really special was actually the three of you and the personalities that you brought to it. And I thought, gosh, this actually is quite good. It's rather fun.
Oh, thanks,
the
man. I feel like I did a great job.
Burgeoning there.
Oh,
no,
we're talking you and the girls.
Yeah,
sorry.
No,
please continue.
No, Drew.
Not you three.
No.
You three.
I thought you were talking about the three of us and how much fun we're having.
No, Drew. You have like 20 years before you come in.
She froze. Piper did her magic thing.
Is she? What the heck?
She's back.
Neil, did you do that?
I think it was my Wi-Fi.
Boink.
That's weird. Okay, I froze. Seems fine now.
What did you say? We missed it.
Oh, I said, Drew, it's like 20 years before you come in.
No,
Yeah.
Sorry, kid.
How did you find dealing with the had you done anything with magic and special effects up to this point in your career at this point yet? Or was this kind of your first foray into it?
I had done some green screen and various things. I did a rather awful movie called Nick Fury that was Fox. And Nick Fury was played by David Hasselhoff.
Wow.
And I played his sidekick, Perky Pierce or something I was called.
Perky Pierce.
When you're British, there's only two. Well, I only have two ways of acting. I'm either pompous prick or charming shit. So Charmed was charming shit.
Yes.
Nick Fury was pompous prick. I think to a certain extent, is how the Americans see the sort of British at that time, So
totally.
Hugh Grant was a bit of the pompous prick, whereas then the baddies are the charming shits. But yes, so I did. Yeah, so Nick Fury, we did some dodgy, poor green screen, and then I went into Charmed. I was thinking also because a huge amount of the time you had to do things, all those scenes, several times. And the hours that particularly you three, not you three, but you three, were working.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, I thought I should. I don't want any miscommunication here. But that was when I was doing astral projection and appearing. I think the camera was locked off and you guys did a scene, and then I walked into it and tried to look over your shoulder and not walk through you. And although it's pretty simple stuff, I think it looks quite effective. But beyond that, it's just time consuming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and not necessarily for me, but you, Holly, you were there the whole time. I mean, you're in 95% of the thing. You must have been shattered.
I lived there. Basically lived there. It's funny, we were talking about that earlier today, that we had this episode in particular, we had these weird eyelights that were trying to like brighten the circles under our eyes because we got a note from the network that said the girls look tired. And so we literally had these highlights in our eyes that make us look like cyborgs that I was just like, oh gosh. And it's really evident on me. Please don't go back and look, but it's very evident.
Hang on, I've got it on my computer. I'm going to look now.
Boot that up and share.
It's just not
share
good.
with the group, please. Do a screen share.
It was an experiment.
But if you go to episode 9, look at those bags.
Look at the bags.
Oh, they're dreadful. Well, no wonder you. That is an awful thing to be told.
It is. And I've seen it happen on, other sets with young actresses where like a DP will like come up to a girl's face and go, "See this? I don't want to see this," and walk away. And the girl is just sitting there terribly devastated. And they adjust the lights around them, and so yeah, it's definitely
let's not just limit that to girls. Anyone hears that, see this?
Oh, please, you're perfect.
I don't want to see that. That shakes you to your core.
Yeah, these days they're getting like, no, we don't want any light on you. We just want you to we want like this raw, rugged thing. I'm like,
no fill light.
What? Can I get a little light?
No.
No.
But see, you guys get to age gracefully and well, and men just age better, apparently. And even when girls are like, young, they're supposed to be perfect. And when you're older, the job pool just gets smaller and smaller. But yeah, men get to age gracefully.
Do you
like
age gracefully?
Wine.
I was going to say, you look beautiful.
Oh,
yeah, you look
I have
stunning.
a fill light.
You do
Not
look
the
stunning.
highlight, but I have the fill light.
You got
yes,
a fill light?
you can see that you obviously have very good lighting.
I do.
No, that's just her face. She really just, Neil, she looks like that. That's how she looks.
No.
Yeah.
It's just
You look terrific.
It's all the
One thing
blood.
I did notice, tell me, because I thought my voice was quite ridiculous. It was terribly light. But, Brian, you've got a nice resonant voice.
Gravelly.
For some reason in that show, everyone sounded quite light. Am I right? Or is it just me watching it on my TV?
No. My voice is totally different. Brian sounds like he's been touring with a country western band for like the last 20 years.
There's a few bottles of whiskey and cigarettes in there.
So we did all talk in the 90s. Oh, very much like that.
Piper?
Brian
was like this.
Well, that's kind of a question I had for you. Coming out of, you trained classical theater, you've been on stage, you've toured.
I did, darling, yes.
Yes, and then to come into Hollywood and then do TV or go do a film and the difference in all that. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then getting into spelling specifically, which is kind of a nighttime drama kind of show? Is there a different way of approaching these different avenues of performance?
It's not a question I've been asked for a while. It is very interesting. I'm not, to a certain extent, there is no difference because you just have to be involved in the character and stuff. One thing about stage is the time you have to rehearse with that script. And I think, I'm not sure if it's purely around spelling, but lots of shows are really quite quick. And I think that the biggest difference is between a British TV show and an American one. A British one, for an hour long, you used to, at least at that time, get a couple of weeks to film it. And it would be quite gentle, and they do an awful lot of sort of painting pictures of the landscapes, etc. And I found in American TV, even the sort of the huge ones like ER, there's a pace to it, and there's an awful lot of dialogue and talking, which we never had in British TV at that time. And I think that has changed because we're influenced by you guys so much. But what I did find was there's a lot of dialogue to learn, very short time to learn it. which is why you may notice Rex Buckland says and a lot, because he's trying to, the is, what the hell do I say next? Oh, yes. So, it's purely sounds like I'm being thoughtful as an actor, but I'm just trying to remember what on earth I say. So the only thing I think different is, the other thing I think is it's very much on the front foot. In British TV, and again, I think it's of the time at the end of the 90s and early noughties, we would sit back a bit more. And I think in American shows, there's an energy to it. And I always call it front foot acting. So that it's much punchier in your face a bit, which I must admit I struggled with when I first came to America. And I was telling my son at the weekend that the first audition I had was for Frasier. And I can't remember if it was Daphne's boyfriend or brother or something, but it was a British character. I did this audition and I wasn't particularly funny or very good, and I didn't get the job. And then I watched the episode, and there was an American guy doing a bad British accent, but he understood what the audience were laughing at regarding a British character. And I was in America for some years, and eventually, after a couple of years, I understood, I think, two things. One, of what Americans thought was quite quirky about Britishness, which we don't see as quirky because it's just us, whereas you see it as the sort of quirky bit. But the second thing is there is a certain style. As I said, there's that front foot acting, which took me a while to gauge as well. But regarding spelling, I don't know. The one thing I did find, I'd done a huge amount of stuff in America. And then as soon as the day after my first episode of Beverly Hills 90210 aired, I went to the lot at I think Universal or something, and the security guard recognized me. I then met a producer, and the producer's PA recognized me from the night before, as if I was all of a sudden had not done anything in acting for 20 years. But then because of that one episode, and I was even stopped in a gas station on Sunset Boulevard by a gaggle of girls jumping out of their car who recognized me from Beverly Hills 90210 and wanted a photo, etc. And they were obviously from out of town because, I'm sure if they were local, there were more exciting celebrities than me around. I just found that's the thing I found extraordinary about a spelling show, and potentially the power of it, I guess.
And how has it been? Have you been recognized as Rex from avid Charm fans?
Not in Britain. Well, it's interesting. Britain, it didn't come to Britain. I know that it aired when we were filming. It started airing. So the first half dozen episodes. I should talk to you more about that as opposed to my view of it. But none of us, I guess, knew what we're a part of.
Oh, yeah, that was going to be my next question. Were you aware when you booked the job, like what its cultural meaning at this point was, or?
No, because I think that it would never aired. I think the pilot had been made. I was cast in the August, so I presume you made the pilot in February, March, April time?
Yeah.
And then I think you started filming in August. Would that be right? Or was it July?
July, August, yeah.
Right. So, no, I had no idea what it was. I just did my usual thing. And it seemed to work for it quite nicely. It was a really happy time. I really like what I do in a show, and apart from my silly high pitched voice, I quite enjoyed it. But then it aired whilst we were filming. And I do remember I was in the makeup trailer and Shannon came up to me and she said, "I saw you in the episode last night. You were ever so good." So she was my best friend after that moment. Anyone who's nice to me. But yes, at that point one started to get recognized. But a year later, I came back to Britain, and it took some time before it was on sort of TV here for people to watch it.
Yeah,
apparently it is quite big here, but it did take some years. By which point,
I think it was 2 because the rest of the world got it. And literally, England was not sure they were ready for the American show about witches. So there was actually another year delay.
My wife actually used to watch it and is a bit of a fan. That sounds wrong. I didn't marry a fan.
By the way, man,
there would be nothing.
Sure.
There would be nothing wrong with
but
there would be nothing wrong because obviously the people listening to this are fans.
No judgment.
As long as the kids' name aren't Piper and Leo, we're good.
Wyatt.
Yeah, how old is what's your son's name?
Wyatt.
There's
oh God, Chris.
There are a few of them, but no, Diane is quite a fan of it. It's quite amusing. And I recently, about 6 months ago, got a new agent actually who was a fan of the show too. So it still works.
It does.
Awesome.
It still translates.
Awesome. So when Rex met his demise at the paws of a puma, yes,
wow,
that was pretty
paws?
good.
No,
Puma paws. Come on,
really.
That was great. I just came up with that.
You've been working on that for 20 minutes.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, yes.
All right, fine. Puma paws. I have been working on that.
Okay,
Thanks for calling me out, BK. What was that kind of were you on set with the Puma? The Jaguar?
Yeah, there was a real one.
There was.
Yeah. I was trained.
Like a Puma, like a cat wrangler?
No, what was I didn't know I died until I went around the back of the set and saw this big cage with we call it a Black Panther, I think. Is it what is it? Is it a Puma? Puma?
It's a Black Panther.
Right. Yes, we call it a Puma, I think, as opposed to a Puma. But anyway, there's this big cage.
When you wear sneakers, are they Pumas?
Yes.
Really?
Unless they're Adidas. But there was this big cage and there was this Puma trainer in there and he had a wig on like mine and my suit. And I thought, what on earth's going on here? And then saw him being mauled. And I thought, oh, right, okay, that's my last episode then.
That was big. See you later.
What a way to find out to die.
But no, what they gave me a Puma, but it was on the stand still. So it was a stuffed Puma on a wooden stand that was about 6 inches sort of wide and about 4 foot long. And I was holding the wooden thing, wiggling around on the floor, really, really quite embarrassed. And the director said, die. And if you notice, as opposed to this slow death, I just went...
You're just dead.
Because I just wanted to get it over with.
Absolutely. Totally understandable.
But and just before though, when I moved in front of the Black Panther, I am on a skateboard with a little wire attached to it. And they pull the wire and I'm frozen like this, but juddering along on this skateboard as I'm moving forward. Yes, the technology and the CGI was quite extraordinary in 98, 99.
I love that story so much.
I mentioned the cigar. What they tried to do, they had a little explosion in the end of the cigar, some sort of little bomb, and they had the wire up my sleeve and down my trouser leg. And so when she blew on the end, this chap pressed a button and it was supposed to sort of glow. And the first time it exploded and lit up. It was on fire. It was gaffer taped to my hand and I was waving it and I couldn't get it off. And my whole hand looked like it was on fire. So they got a fire extinguisher and they sprayed my hand and the whole of me with the white gunk from a fire extinguisher. And then we had to have a couple of hours off while they cleaned my clothes because I only had one outfit. And then the second time we did it, the Technicolor guy actually said, blow, don't suck. Because apparently when I suck, it didn't just glow red. God blimey, this is going the wrong way, isn't it?
No, everything's right. We love
it exploded and lit up on fire.
Oh dear.
So I had to blow.
So blow don't suck.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Sounds completely.
And that's one to grow on, kids.
Yeah.
Completely appropriate. Completely for the day and age.
Yeah.
I was telling my wife earlier, there is a scene at the end of that episode where I've got, I bring out the, what's it called? The little lantern to catch your powers.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing, did you hear it? As I
did you hear the plasticky sound that I heard? That I cringed. I died.
Well, that's why there was no light on it, right? It must have just been super flimsy because it was all just dark. I was like, how? I couldn't see it.
How do we not edit out the plasticky sound?
You just take all the light off it.
Yeah. So that amused me. But I think we filmed that about 3:00 in the morning on a Saturday. Oh. Which is this thing about you lot getting exhausted with your bags under your eyes. Blimey. I mean, is every day one started slightly later because they overran the night before, and SAG have this ruling where you don't have to go back to film until whatever time.
Right.
Which meant that we were there till 2-3 in the morning on the Saturday morning. So we did your shots first, and then they turned the camera around on me. And I was telling my wife, it was 2:33 in the morning, and they actually said, do you want us to stand here? And I said, please, you go home and get some rest. Aren't I lovely? Aren't I lovely, Brian? I said, go and get some rest, the three of you. And so I did that to your stand-ins. I waved the plastic thing.
The plastic thing with the stand-ins.
It's nice.
Yes.
What's the typical?
Am I supposed to tell people that?
No, you can tell people that. I act at opposite stand-ins all the time.
Well, in fairness, with some actors, it often feels like you are.
It's true. What's the standard turnaround time? Is it 12 hours?
It's supposed to be
the difference.
12 hours.
It's 12 hours.
8 for transpo, 10 for every other crew member.
And then 12 for actors. And then if they do a force call, it can be anything. Right.
But also what was happening then, from what I remember, you guys were then flying across the country to New York and doing interviews with Jay Leno or whatever, and then coming back again and starting, 6:00 in the morning on Monday.
We were doing a lot of press, and we were doing the upfronts where they announced the show. So it was 3-ring circus, mayhem and chaos.
And did they, I think after I left, they added a day of filming. Is that right? So that it was done in 8 days, not 7 or something.
Were we doing it was 7 that first season? Is that how you
for the first few months, yeah.
Well, yeah, because the other spelling shows were on 7 days. And we were like, we have special effects, we have stunts, we have multiple wardrobe changes in a day. There's just no way. And so then we did go to 8.
And this was the episode that kind of like sealed that for everyone? Specifically?
Well, the eye light was the first
eye light
indication.
Was the thing.
The cyborg.
The cyborg light.
I do remember one more thing about that episode. I was vomiting on the last couple of days of the shoot. I was really quite poorly.
Did we give you food poisoning too from catering?
Were you nervous?
I have no idea why, but I was vomiting at that point. And I do remember they called a doctor, and I was in my trailer, and he gave me an injection in my buttock for some reason. Is that a well-known thing?
That actually wasn't the doctor.
It's an
That's Ronnie set deck. Well, it's a joke we play on everyone.
I had my trousers. I had my trousers round by my ankle, and Shannon had heard that I wasn't very well. So he was sticking this needle in my arse. And there was a knock on the door, and because I'm polite, I said, "Come in." And the door opened, and it was Shannon.
Of course it was.
And she looked at me with the doctor sticking a needle in my arse with my bent over, the trousers down, and she said, "Oh, I see you're busy." And she closed the door.
Of course she did. No, that's an anti-nausea shot. I've had that given to me on other sets.
What, Shannon turning up at the door?
No. The shot in the buttocks.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
it's like a B12
I think a few people and crew members actually
I think we did have a sickness.
Had some adverse reaction to the set where we were filming there. And,
we did, yeah.
Why we wind up moving, I think that building got condemned and lawsuit and crazy stuff.
Yeah,
where was asbestos first season?
It was in this stage in Glendale, which is now Coyote Studios. Before it was just a warehouse. It was an old warehouse where they used to manufacture shampoo.
Mm.
And so we did have a few people get sick during the first season. And they tested the air, and there was formaldehyde and something else, and
molds.
Yeah.
Look
so
at
we
Neil.
ended up
like
moving.
You missed out on a class action lawsuit.
Except there wasn't one, sadly.
Oh, okay.
Can I do it 24 years later?
I think you can.
We can retroactive that for sure.
I think you can.
That little cough that
that I still have.
Yeah.
That's the one.
So I was just vomiting at the.
So what are you working on now? What's been going on? What's happening with you right now?
I actually do a lot of video games, motion capture and voiceover, but there's an awful lot of NDAs around it. But what I do find interesting is, they spend more on these things than they do with movies.
Right.
Yeah. Do you miss the race, or not even the race, but do you miss being in Hollywood? Do you feel like being back in London, it has kind of limited you in regards to choices in your career and or projects? Or do you feel like at this day and age, you can live anywhere and it doesn't really affect anything?
I think it is. I think in those days, you had to be based in LA if you were going up for things constantly. Now, of course, there's issues with work permits and stuff, probably even more so. Having said that, I did an American series called Whiskey Cavalier about 3 years ago, which was for ABC, but it was filmed in Europe. But then there's a huge amount with Netflix and Apple and everything else. Stuff's done all over the world. So I don't think it is limiting. I think what I rather enjoy is, one, being a daddy and actually being with my family, which is why I came back. Not that Charmed finished up my career, but Charmed, it was the last job I did in the States, which is why I say that.
Wow.
So I then came home because I had a little boy who was 4 at the time, and he was starting to sing "I'm the King of the Castle." And we said, "I'm the King of the Castle, darling." So we thought it was time to go back to Blighty.
That's amazing.
But it was quite, I probably shouldn't say this either, but I had a manager at the time because I said, I need to go back to Britain for my wife and my kids. I think that the thing about moving to another country is that you lose all of your support system. And I think when you have children, for us at least, it was important to have that support system around us. And what's also odd about LA is you get a job and then you fly to Vancouver and you work there for months. Right. And so being placed in LA is maybe the sort of the epicenter of TV and film around the world, but it's not necessarily then where it's shot. But your family are all there, so it's really quite odd. So we went back to Britain, but this manager said it would be easier, Neil, to get a new wife than this career.
Doing community theater in Glendale.
Guys, I'm one step away from that. Let's not knock it. One
Don't
step
knock
away.
it till you try it.
But your support system is in California.
Mine?
True.
Yeah. But
Oh, we hit a nerve.
Yeah, it's real touch. Neil, it's real touch.
Drew,
and
do you
go
want to
over here
share?
Right now.
Share, darling. Come on, share.
Darling,
bleep it all out.
Real touch and go. Real touch and go.
You're the only one left in LA, Drew.
I might be.
So you know.
Actually, that is true.
What is that about? How come?
Well, I'm born and raised here. So my support system is here. Super close with my family. It's just, I think if you're born in LA, it's a little different.
It is.
It just doesn't affect me the same way. Like the one thing that obviously I can't stand is the traffic. And I think that I can safely say that's probably everyone who lives here probably hates that. That would be the thing I cite the most. But the industry and that feeling of it has never really bothered me, just because it's always been around me. And I don't know. It just doesn't affect me energetically. I didn't come here looking for something or to try to make it. I was just born here. So I guess that
I'm sure that's very different when you transplant yourself for one purpose.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also when you got a city, I mean, it's unlike any other city, I think, because everything is driven around pretty well one industry.
Yeah, we're
even the dentist
town.
wants to be the dentist to the stars. Pretty well everybody does. And certainly, there are other places that I guess the other thing is there's not so much theatre, and I do love theatre. You mentioned that earlier, Brian. There is something extraordinary about being in front of people. And I also do quite a few musicals. So I did Mary Poppins not so long ago and played Mr. Banks, who's the dad in it. And also I did Mamma Mia in the West End.
Oh, wow.
Played Colin Firth role from the film in that.
Amazing.
And so just the variety when you think, one moment you're doing some musical in the West End and the stage to a couple of thousand people. And then the next you're doing some small bit of TV or a nice little independent film, and then something much bigger, etc. But I think that variety is very exciting that potentially you don't get in LA.
No, I agree.
Is there one that seems to be a little more gratifying? I mean, 90210, you're recognized by the producer's assistant on the lot. The video game, your children can't wait to play you. Theater, you finish your monologue and people stand and clap. Is there one that's a little more dear to heart and that you enjoy more?
That is really interesting. I think it is more the particular job. Because in fairness, I've done theatre where it hasn't been much fun. And the problem sometimes of something, if you're in it for a couple of years, you are doing the same dialogue every single night, every week, every month, every year. And I have no focus at all. I get bored terribly quickly. So the beauty of, it's a sort of double-edged sword, because the beauty of TV and film is that you're constantly doing something new. You've got that new dialogue, or you're going into a different show and you've got a different character, etc. But at the same time, often you do no more than just about learn your lines and step in the right place. And on the stage, you have all these weeks rehearsal of going, you may go from A to Z and realize A was the right way of playing it, but you have the option to do that and really go into it in some depth. And I think the problem sometimes with a lot of TV, at least, is that the lack of. Yeah, you mentioned about, did the producer tell you about your arc? Did they tell you about where you're going with this? And no, so therefore each episode, it's fresh, almost like normal life, where you don't know what's going to happen the next day. But at the same time, it would be nice if you had some idea of maybe where you're trying to get to at some point.
And if you can plan your life or not.
Shows like that. Sorry?
And if you can plan your life or not. That's always the other thing.
There is that too. Yeah.
About moving for a show or moving to LA or moving to a different country and then having a few guest star roles or having this, or you might continue. And then poor Brian, in this episode, he literally goes, "Oh no, I have powers. That means I'm going to die." Literally. So he thinks actually something good is happening. And poor Brian is there the entire 8 years, just tortured. Like,
when did you know? I was happy. I was curious about that. It said guest star at the start of the episode, and it had your name. At what point did you know? Have you discussed it?
It wasn't until
he's like never. I never knew.
Almost a year later, halfway through season 2.
Had you popped back over that period, or did they just bring you back?
Yeah, I think at the first season I might have done 7 episodes total, or something like that. So spread out through the first year, and then the first 5 they brought me back, 5 out of 13, and then somewhere near that 5th episode, season 2, they added all episodes produced on the back of season 2.
So when they said to me, "We could bring you back, Neil," they decided to bring you back instead.
We did discuss this. I was like, he died so that
you could... sister. You kiss Phoebe off camera.
He died so you survived.
I think I
Sacrificed his life for you via Puma.
I think I touched her buttocks, didn't I?
Probably.
Oh yeah, Rex, you doll.
Let's go to the tape.
Let's go to, yeah, we have. Yeah, you did.
It was surprising for me as well.
Rex and Phoebe boning.
Sure.
No.
Oh.
It was always a surprise.
That wasn't surprising, darling. That was quite natural.
Darling. Yeah, it was natural.
Yeah.
So it was a surprise, Brian.
It very much, just not knowing where the character was going, kind of the same deal. Having no idea.
But did you know over that first few episodes, like that episode 10 that we're discussing, did you know in the episodes before that's where you were leading up to?
No.
Right.
They had just described to me that I was a potential love interest for one of the girls.
So one of them.
The whole storyline they fed me. So when I finally did show up and have powers like that, I was like, oh shit.
And down he goes. But
in fairness to them, I presume they write a pilot, and there are so many pilots that are made, and they must think, they have maybe some outline of the 22 episodes in the season, but they don't necessarily know exactly what they're going to do. And then all of a sudden it's commissioned. Every 7 days they need another episode. And they really must be chasing their tails. So I can imagine they're thinking, what on earth should we do this week?
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I don't think you come to the table with 22 episodes already written.
No, I only know.
Nor would you really have the outline for that many.
I only know one man that did that. That was David Kelly he already had the first year of Picket Fences written.
Wow.
But it was his first solo to, show that he created himself. But with this one, I know we had changes. We had changes in the head of state. We had a network that always had conflicting opinions with the studio, which was Spelling. So there was just way too many cooks in the kitchen. And I know particularly like with the guys, at one point, Piper is just playing the field. And I remember saying to the producer at the time, I was like, she's kind of a slut these days. And he said, no, she's just unlucky in love. And I was like, no, she's kind of a hoe. Kind of a hoe. Like, maybe we should narrow down the field a bit. And they kind of like looked at me like, okay, fine. Truly. And that's where Piper and Leo started weaving their way towards each other.
Running
like,
around the house in their underwear?
Yeah,
That's when they started doing that?
No, those were the crazy beginning.
Yeah. You crazy kids.
She takes a left-hand turn at Albuquerque in a few episodes.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Can you not spoil the show for me, please?
Sorry. It's only 30 years old.
Well,
if you haven't seen it by now, people.
No, it's not. We're not that old.
Have we been talking for that long? It's now 30 years, not 24.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's 30. Just make it an even 30.
So where are you two then? You're in Atlanta or Washington or something?
I'm just south of Atlanta.
Peachtree. Did you say Peachtree?
Peachtree.
There's a lot of peach trees in Georgia.
He's by the second peach tree.
Did you move there because of work?
I grew up in Southern California as well. And my father's left after a couple of years, and I have friends I went to high school with and stuff, but no other immediate family. And once the pandemic hit, I think one of the best things that came about it is you no longer have to be in the room to audition.
Yeah,
and so for the first time since 1988, I didn't have to be in Los Angeles. And, just the way things had transpired in the city, and, a big part of the film industry has moved down here. I know people, a small community of people that are here. And I just said, if there's ever a time I can try a different thing out for my life, I'll give it a year. And so I traveled for 6 months, driving across the country, and then settled down here in one of the Peachtree areas.
And are you loving it? You going to stay?
I'm loving it. It's quiet. I'm a bit out in the country, and it's taking walks late at night, and it's just quiet. It's definitely what I needed coming out of the city for, kind of just living in the noise of it every day, the sirens, the traffic, the people, the trash. And I'm a lot more relaxed, I have to say, in the last couple months, more than I've been able to in the last 20 years, just being stuck, chasing that, like I imagine living in the heart of London would be, just every day you wake up to it going. And Los Angeles isn't quite that because it's not a walking city like that,
sure,
but there's still an energy that has been nice to get away from.
Excellent. You're going to go back?
We'll see. I'll probably audition for something that's going to take me there.
Yeah, right. You'll get the one show that shoots in LA.
That's actually my fear.
Work like once a week, but it's for months.
I know. Right. But by the way, you'll play golf every day. You'll be fine. Yeah. Neil, unfortunately, our time is up today. Thank you so much for joining us. We have to run.
It was so good to see you. You've literally aged like fine wine. It's just so unfair.
Well, you're very kind. I
Handsome
think I have
devil.
a filter. No, I think I have a filter on Zoom.
No,
very, very handsome devil.
It was really fun watching the episode. As I said, I haven't seen it for 20 years. There is a scene on that holding the little plastic rattly thing that was on my show reel for years. I don't know why I didn't take the rattly thing off. I could have edited that myself, couldn't I?
Oh God!
It got
no
their
expense spared.
No
expense spent. No expense. No expense. Anyway, it's really lovely to catch up with you all. You take care, and thanks for inviting me on.
Thanks for playing with us, Neil. Really, really
very
grateful.
much, Joy. It's great seeing you.
Thank you.
You take care, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh yeah, he's frozen. Look what he did.
Look what I did.
No, wait, he's pretending.
Oh, he's pretending.
So good at it. You still got the skills.
You still got
you
it.
Got it.
Pretty good.
You got it. He's got chops.
It's all about timing.
All about the timing.
That was good.
Especially in this episode. I digress.
You did.
That was awesome.
Amazing.
How do I leave?
I don't know.
Close your computer.
You're just stuck.
You'll
just
never
like
leave. We have you now.
Am I going to be here forever now?
Yes, you're stuck in the charge universe.
He's like, leave
forever.
It really will be for 30 years.
Yes, it will.
Welcome back.
35 years ago, when we were on Charmed, we've all got beards. Well, not necessarily all. Yeah, that's where you never know. Anyway,
So
time to go.
amazing.
This is when I start getting inappropriate. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
There
Ta-ta.
you go. So cute.
Amazing. Neil Roberts. So give me episode rating real fast. Where are we at?
I'm feeling warm about this one.
Okay.
Not just because we set another person on fire. Well, two people. I'm feeling an
She's
8,
going to say an 8. I knew it.
right?
Okay.
I mean, you got to give
no.
Brian's Homewreck and Kiss an 8.
No, there was a lot of fun there. For sure.
You don't want to go 9 and 9.5.
Oh.
Easy.
Sorry.
Come on.
Well,
Come on,
I'm
triple
leaving.
kiss.
I'm leaving room for improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't go much past 8. I feel like the show, like you're saying, as much as it's finding its footing with the girls and the chemistry, they're shoving a lot into a small amount of time.
Had to.
So many storylines going on at once that you're not really diving into, the main thing. And for me, the storytelling aspect of it hadn't quite leveled itself out of, for me, but just because it seems so many things, I was a little confused still in watching.
Yeah. 3-ring circus.
If
But
that
you
makes
gave it
any
an 8.
sense.
Okay.
So I still gave it a 9.5 based on Leo kissing Piper.
Oh, all right then. That's not objective.
Okay, maybe an 8.
Fine.
9.5.
A soft
9.5.
6 for me.
Soft 6?
Yeah. I wanted the culmination because Rex was the first demon that we've seen that's over the course of multiple episodes kind of
Right.
working his way. And I thought his demise ultimately was pretty anticlimactic for me.
Okay, but did you see what he was working with?
I understand. He flew.
But this is why I thought it could have deserved another episode or two to really flush
really
that out.
have him like fuck with you guys for a few episodes where he starts to wreak havoc. So for me, it didn't land as much as it did for both of you. Also, the gross factor with you guys like making out and boning all over the manor.
You have to take that aside, and your personal feelings.
Okay, fine, you're
right.
But I still give it a soft 6, not even a hard 6. So.
Wow, because of the stuffed Puma.
Thank you all for tuning in
Thank you
to
all.
The House of Hallowell. Check it out on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Google, Amazon, wherever you listen to your playlists or podcasts. And if you want to watch us, check us out at patreon.com/HoH. That's it, y'all.